Good morning, everybody. Okay, so good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing on this bright morning in Toronto? Yay! I wanted to talk today about something I observe very often in the office. I'm Victoria Lorien-Favish. I'm a registered psychotherapist, a holistic psychotherapist, and I am very much about clear conversations, and I want this moment here today together for all of you who are joining me, and I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join me. Hi there, Sheila. Hi, Eduardo. Hi, Ali. What I want to be clear about what walking on eggshells is and what walking on eggshells is not, and yes, sun is gorgeous today, Sheila. I agree. I'm so pleased. And so let's talk about walking on eggshells. So one of the things that walking on eggshells is not is being skillful, is being diplomatic, is being, I want you to, by the way, anytime I come on, please feel free to ask questions, okay? But it is an issue that I see a lot of people talking about when we're trying to, good morning, Sandra, when we're trying to discern what is skillful means of communicating with people. And people get concerned that when they are skillfully communicating with people, that they are all of a sudden, oh, well, now I'm walking on eggshells. No, that's not the case. I really feel that we have to really look at what walking on eggshells is. And it is a problem for a lot of people. So skillful communication, diplomatic communication, picking and choosing your words, deciding how you're going to find a way into the relationship through the methodology of speaking and communicating and verbalizing is not walking on eggshells. So that needs to be very clear so that you differentiate. What is walking on eggshells is if there's fear involved. In other words, one of the things that people need to really be discerning about is in perhaps a relationship that is emotionally abusive and there's volatility and explosiveness and irritability constantly. And so there's this feeling, this pervasive feeling of imposed fearfulness, and you've got to be careful or you're going to be walking into a landmine. And that is what I would call not healthy. The type of relationship that involves a lot of, overly apologizing for yourself, and then also not speaking your truth. I case study, I work with a couple of people, but good morning, Debbie. Nice to see you. And Paula, good morning. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me on these mornings. Let me just talk about a case study of someone who feels like they have a whole many years, like years, not just months or weeks, years of not speaking the truth of what they feel, of what they think, of what they want. And that's because during the early parts of the relationship, there was a lot of control, jealousy, scary dynamics. And so that sort of trained this client of mine to be an eggshell walker. And I feel like protracted periods of eggshell walking, hi Adele, can be very, very, very harmful to a person's psyche. It can set up a person to have a nervous system that is constantly on the fight, flight, over hypervigilant. And so that's when the walking on eggshells is not healthy. But what is healthy is being discerning about how you speak, about how you deliver information. Hi, Julie. About how you about deciding to be diplomatic, about not being sort of a bull in a china shop. These are important skills in communicating in relationships. And that, in my opinion, does not mean that you're operating on the walking on eggshells basis. You're operating from the adult part of you. I feel that impulsive speech and just saying whatever you think, whenever you want, however you want. That's the domain of the child. That's what kids do. But the domain of the adult has a more discerning aspect in which there's a decision about how information is going to be delivered. And then the walking on eggshells piece comes when you decide that you just will not deliver the information. You'll just constantly hold that secret. And that's fear-based. And so does anyone recognize that in their own relationships? And you can certainly ask questions or not, whatever you prefer, but it can add to the conversation. Essentially, if you are... communication is such an important aspect of a relationship. And I often will counsel people around the fact that, like, if a couple is in front of me, someone has written something, is this Sheila? Oh, okay. Thank you for keeping the notes on this, Sheila. That's great. But you never have to, by the way. But if you have any questions, please ask any questions or share any information. Hi, Sarah. How are you? So I would say that there's a real... when I see a couple in front of me and there's this sort of silence on one side and lots and lots of communication on the other side, the first thing I will start to explore is if there's fear for speaking the truth, and fear of consequence. Fear of consequence. And so, hi Wendy, how's it going? And some of the consequences might be dire, might be attacks, might be, creating like a traumatic environment. Hi, Kristen. And so it's important to really differentiate between, is this a relationship that is kind of emotionally abusive and therefore I feel I need to be, walking on eggshells? Or perhaps another piece that I want to share is perhaps there's no reason for any fear, but yet the person was trained from the family of origin family traumas, that even if there's safety, we don't speak the truth. So it's like they're habituated. It's almost like a trauma-based pattern from the childhood in which the person comes forth in their adult relationships and brings that baggage forward, and then basically they're ending up in a therapist's office because in a therapist's office because there is a lack of communication, and the person is saying, I'm open, I'm receptive, but the person is always, my partner is always, walking on eggshells, afraid, but there's no reason to be afraid. So they get pulled into the office because they want to improve their communication. So we have to see if it's legitimate need for walking on eggshells because it's scary, or family of origin being brought forward. Hi, Wendy. Or they're just not used to being able to communicate in a healthy way, and they're afraid of being rejected, or they're afraid of being somehow criticized, or afraid of being judged. And these are important distinctions, I feel. And only you can know whether or not that there's this real reason that is harmful to you emotionally for walking on the eggshells. And I'm going to tell you that, when I put a list together of what constitutes an emotionally abusive relationship, one of the tenets of an emotionally abusive relationship is I feel I need to walk on eggshells for fear of explosiveness, volatility, and criticism, judgment, belittling, putting down, and all of that. So I feel like we have to be very, very clear that, if you're walking on eggshells, are you doing that because you really need to? Because this is a kind of traumatic relationship? Or are you doing that because, you brought this in from your childhood and you just don't know any other way to communicate other than constantly protecting yourself, or what I would call overprotecting yourself? And when a person is overprotecting themselves, you're not giving that relationship a fair shot. And so let's talk about moving away from walking on eggshells and what that might look like. So first, you've established that this is not an abusive relationship. So we're clear on that, because if it is an abusive relationship, then we have other fish to fry. We have other things to do. We need to possibly get you out of there, or get you into some psychotherapy, or the couple has to come in together and really point out this stuff. But if, let's just say, the relationship is okay, but you have a habituation of walking on eggshells constantly, then you need a methodology by which to get out of that. And I would say that the most important thing is to start to tell yourself, number one, start to journal and start to tell yourself that what I feel matters. What I think matters. You need to start to convince yourself that what you think, what you want, what you need, what you have to say is something that actually matters to the relationship and to yourself. And so this is sort of like a retraining of your self esteem and self-worth and self-love. So stopping the eggshell walking pattern, regardless of the incarnation that it's in, requires that you say to yourself, I matter. I'm worth something. What I have to say is something of value. And even if you don't think it's something of value, regardless, as a human being, you have the right to speak and to come forth. Hi, Jason. So the other thing I want to say is that some people are so trained to omit what they truly feel that they don't know what they truly feel. So you need to do some journaling to start to go about the business of asking yourself, what do I think? What do I just literally in the privacy of your own being, start to have that relationship with yourself in which you ask yourself the questions, who am I? What do I need? What do I feel? These are the kinds of things that will start to heal that pattern of overly protecting, overly hedging, overly being hypervigilant of your environment. So the journey toward healthy adult relationship involves, firstly, a relationship with yourself, a healthy adult relationship with yourself. And that's harder than one might think, but it is part of the journey of transforming from that sort of impulsive, reactive, operating from trauma child to I'm operating from choice and discernment, and I'm being diplomatic, and I'm choosing my words, and that's not walking on eggshells. That's not an anxious way of communicating. That's just an adult way of communicating. And so I hope this is something that that you can relate to. It's hard, I know, Eduardo, but the truth is that it's doable. It may be hard, but it's doable. And I'm encouraging everyone to decide that they have a right to speak, and they have a right, and what they have to say is valuable, and who they are is valuable. And so they don't have to overprotect, and they don't have to. And if you're in a relationship in which you do have to overprotect because it is abusive, then please find a way out, because that's just going to train you to go inside your shell longer and further and longer and further. And that is what I don't want. I want you to change in that regard. That is what I'm inviting you to do. I'm inviting you to do that. And it is doable, absolutely. So I'm going to be coming on again next week as of Monday. And what I want you to do is I'm going to have some videos in which you get to ask me anything. And so I'm counting on you to be there to ask me questions about anything psychological, anything to do with relationships, anything to do. So I will let you know what day that I'm going to do that. It's probably going to be sometime midweek. So just so you know, I'm going to be letting you guys ask me questions, and we will have a dialogue. And let me know if that appeals to you, if that is the kind of thing that is interesting to you, to ask questions of me in one of these live Facebook sessions. So for now, please hop over to... Good, Wendy. I'm glad you have your question ready, and Sheila does too. So invite your friends to come, because I'm going to be ready to answer some questions. What I would like to have you do is go to visualizationworks.com, which is my website. Lots of free videos, my online programs, lots of free articles. And also, I want you to just explore around, because I'm always adding new information to my website. So Visualization Works. Also, does it interest anybody if I take people on a visualization in which I actually lead you through a visualization piece. And I'd like to sort of, I mean, I'm doing this like 3-4 times a week, so coming up with topics is part of the challenge of this sort of stuff. So I'm coming up with different ideas. So I'm wondering if people are interested in a visualization experience in which you visualize possibly how to transform some parts of yourself. So let me know if that's something of interest to you. And also, Find Your Self-Culture, Moving from Depression and Anxiety to Monumental Self-Acceptance is my first book. And Connecting, Rewire Your Relationship Culture is my second book. You've seen them. They're just behind me. And please check that out on the website. And also, if you are, I don't know if you know, but I have a channel on YouTube, Ask Victoria. And so subscribe if you're catching me over there. Subscribe to that channel. And join my group, which is a really cool community of people. Positive self-culture, relationship culture, family culture. And I just want to wrap up with the concept that when you're walking on eggshells, please stop and question as to why you're doing this. Is this a vestige from your childhood? Is this a vestige from your childhood that you're simply addicted to or, habituated with, and you are just bringing this forth? Or is this something you are really needing to do because you need to stay safe, and therefore walking on eggshells is the only way to stay safe? And if that's the case, you need to look at your relationship because there's an emotional abuse going on. And number 3, which I really want you to remember, is that being diplomatic and being discerning as to how you speak to someone is not walking on eggshells. It's adult. It's the domain of the adult. It's not the child impulsive. So these are the differentiations I want for you, okay, to understand. And I'm just wishing you a fantastic, beautiful day on this sunny Toronto day. Yay, sun! And let yourself speak from an adult place. Come into your adult so that you can speak from that adult place and no longer walk on eggshells if it's not necessary. I mean, if it's necessary, that's another conversation. But if it's not necessary, banish that and start to decide, I'm going to speak my truth because I'm worth something. I hope that helps. Have a blessed day. Talk to you soon.